Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Oh my God. Jai.
Zu schwer als Sätze.
Ja, zu schwer. Jai, nicht Englisch. Wow. Wahnsinn. Brian Prabhu, is there maybe an expert in repairing this one key? Yeah? Okay. So viele. Such dir aus. Danke. Das war nicht. Deutsch, okay, let's see. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna. Wer versteht kein Englisch? Nicht perfekt. Okay. Und who doesn't understand German? Bisschen. So, two. What would, Brian, for translation, what would you prefer, from German into English or from English into German? It's easier from English to German. So I will speak in English and then you will get a wonderful German translation by Brian Pro. Danke dir. We are reading from Caitanya Caritamrita, Madya Lila, 22nd chapter, text 56 to 62. Yeah. Yeah. Madya Lila, 22nd chapter, text 56, and on the board is text 56, huh? Yeah. Krishna Kripa. 56. Yeah, usually we write this text on the board where there's a purport. Okay, anyhow. So we read 56 together and then I read the other text till 62 because before there is no purport. Krishna Kripalu Arjunere Lakshya Kariya Krishna Kripalu Arjunere Lakshya Kariya Jagatere Rakiyachena Upadeshadiya Jagatere Rakiyachena Upadeshadiya Krishna Kripalu Arjunere Lakshya Kariya. Jagatere Rakia Chena Upadesha Diya. Yes, please. Krishna Kripalu Arjunere Lakshya Kariya. Jagatere Rakia Chena Upadesha Diya. Krishna Kripalu Arjunere Lakshya Kariya. Jagatere Rakia Chena Upadesha Diya. Krishna Kripalu Arjunere Lakshya Kariya. Jagatere Rakia Chena Upadesha Diya. Ladies?
Krishna Kripalu Arjunere Lakshya Kariya.
Krishna Kripalu Arjunere Lakshya Kariya.
Jagatere Rakia Chena Upadesha Diya.
Jagatere Rakia Chena Upadesha Diya. Krishna Kripalu Arjunere Lakshya Kariya. Jagatere Rakia Chena Upadesha Diya. Thank you. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Kripalu, merciful. Arjunere, Arjuna. Lakshya Kariya, aiming at. Jagatere, the whole world. Rakyachena, has protected. Upadeshadiya, giving instructions. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Krishna is so merciful that simply by aiming his instructions at Arjuna, he has given protection to the whole world. Text 57 and 58. Sarva guyatamam bhuya shrinu me paramam vacha ishto sime tridam iti tato vakshyamite hitam. Manmana bhava matbhakto madhyachi mam namaskuru mam me vashyasi satyam te pratichane priyosime. Translation: because you are my dear friend, I am speaking to you the most confidential part of knowledge. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer obeisances unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this, because you are my very dear friend. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, this is a quotation from Bhagavad Gita 18:64-65. End of purport. Then text 59. Purva agya veda dharma karma yoga gyan sabasadi seshe e agya balavan. Translation: although Krishna has previously explained the proficiency of executing Vedic rituals, performing fruitive activity as enjoined in the Vedas, practicing yoga and cultivating gyan, these last instructions are most powerful and stand above all the others. There is no purport. Text 60. E agya bale bhakterash radha yadihaya sarva karma yagakari te Krishna bhajaya. Translation: if the devotee has faith in the strength of this order, he worships Lord Krishna and gives up all other activities. There is no purport. Text 61. Tavat karmani korvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkata shravanadauva shrada yavan na chayate. As long as one is not satiated by fruitive activity and has not awakened his taste for devotional service by Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunctions. Prabhupada writes in the purport that this is a quotation from Srimad-Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 20th chapter, text 9. End of purport. Text 62. Shraddha Shabde Vishvasakahe Sudrita Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Kai Le Sarva Karma Kritahaya. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. By rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. This confident, firm faith favorable to the discharge of devotional service is called Shraddha. Purport: firm faith and confidence are called Shraddha. When one engages in the Lord's devotional service, he is to be understood to have performed all his responsibilities in the material world. He has satisfied his forefathers, ordinary living entities and demigods, and is free from all responsibility. Such a person does not need to meet his responsibilities separately. It is automatically done. Fruitive activity, karma, is meant to satisfy the senses of the conditioned soul. However, when one awakens to Krishna consciousness, he does not have to work separately for pious activity. The best achievement of all fruitive activity is detachment from material life. And this detachment is spontaneously enjoyed by the devotee firmly engaged in the Lord's service. Mukam karoti vachalang pangung lang gayate girin yat kripa tangang vande shri gurun dinataranam. Homa Yajna timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurun militangena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Trideva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shamarasa, ist hinten am Buch noch ein Blatt Papier? Yes, das bräuchte ich. No, there must be a... No, it was... No, das ist... Danke. Ah ja. Thank you. So, First of all, I would like to give a little understanding of where we are here in the Caitanya Caritamrita. It's a very important section. We are in the 22nd chapter of the Madya Lila, and this is where Caitanya is teaching Sanatan Goswami in Varanasi. And before that, actually, it was in the 19th chapter, Lord Caitanya was meeting with Rupa Goswami in Prayag. Yeah? Prayag, there is where the Mahakumbha Mela took place. Yeah, right? That was in Prayag, Allahabad. Yeah. So there, Lord Caitanya met with Rupa Goswami and taught him for 10 days in the subject of Ras Tattva. Yeah. What do we mean with Ras Tattva? It's about the taste, what is relished by loving exchange with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah? And the Supreme Lord, He is Rasaraj. He is the king of rasas. He is the king of transcendental mellows in exchange with His beloved devotees. And the one Acharya who was describing this Ras Tattva in fullness, this was Srila Rupa Goswami. He is practically called our Ras Acharya. He is our teacher on the matter of rasa, of transcendental mellows. And he got the teachings for writing his book, especially Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. During 10 days of personally being taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then after that, Lord Chaitanya sent Rupa Goswami to Vrindavan. And he continued to travel to Varanasi. Meanwhile, Sanatan Goswami, this is the elder brother of Rupa Goswami, he escaped from jail. He was imprisoned by Hussain Shah, because actually he was the finance minister, but from childhood on he was inclined in reading and studying Bhagavatam. He was 5 years old when he had a dream that a sadhu came and knocked at his door and brought him a Bhagavatam. And then the next day, in reality, truly a sadhu came to his door and brought him a Srimad-Bhagavatam. And that was for him the sign, I need to study that book. And it became his life and soul. But because he was so learned, he was engaged by Hussain Shah, the king that time, the Mohammedan ruler, was engaged in his services. At home, Rupa and Sanatan, they reconstructed a little Vrindavan. Yeah? They had like Radha Kund, Shyama Kund, Giriraj, and they invited sadhus and were sitting together and spoke about Srimad-Bhagavatam. That was their activities. And at one point, Sanatan Goswami, he could not anymore sit there in the office and do the finances of the king. And he said, now I will stay home and I will just discuss Bhagavatam. Of course, to the king, he gave the indication that he's sick. He gave a note, I'm sick, I cannot come for job. This is what we have many times nowadays also. Just if one feels a little sick, then one gives the note to the boss, sorry, today I don't want, even if he maybe sometimes don't feel like going to the job. So this lasted on for a few days, and then the king became suspicious. What's going on there? And he sent his minister to check out about Sanatana Goswami. And he saw that actually he's not sick. He is very blissful, sitting in the association of the Vaishnavas discussing Srimad-Bhagavatam. So he gave order that Sanatana Goswami was thrown in jail because he was not following his duties as the finance minister. So Sanatan was very rich. He was extremely rich. And after some time, some days in the prison, he bribed the jailkeeper with 7,000 gold coins. 7,000 gold coins. That was quite a lot of money. So the jailkeeper let Sanatan free, and Sanatan had his servant Ishan. He followed him and helped him on the way. They had to walk through the jungle, the Charikanda jungle, same as Lord Caitanya. Jai Shishi Pralad Lakshmani Singha Bhagavan Ki Jai. Same path as Lord Caitanya previously took through the Charikanda forest, where we know that he was actually dancing with the wild animals, with the lions and the elephants and the deers, who usually attack, the lions usually attack the deers, but that time they were peacefully, joyfully dancing with each other along with Mahaprabhu. And also Sanatan, he came through that forest, and somehow then he sent Ishan back because he understood Ishan still has 2 gold coins or 8 gold coins. And because of these gold coins, one hotel keeper wanted to kill the 2 of them and rob them of these 8 gold coins. So Sanatan made Ishan give him 7 of the gold coins, and they gave the 7 to the hotel keeper, and the 1 gold coin he kept, Ishan, he was allowed to keep, and he was sent back. And because of that, the hotel keeper did not kill the 2 of them, but even he showed them a safe path, how to cross the forest in a way that they are not harmed by these wild animals. So then after some time, Lord Sanatana Goswami, he came to the same place where Lord Caitanya was residing, and that was in Varanasi. He came to the house of Chandrasekhar. And Lord Caitanya was very much pleased to see Sanatan. And actually, he taught him for 2 full months. 2 full months in Varanasi. Sanatana Goswami got direct personal instructions by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What an amazing blessing he got there. Of course, we know Sanatana Goswami in his eternal form is Lavanga Manjari, a very, very dear servant of Srimati Radharani. And Lord Chaitanya, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, had that time his association with her most beloved girlfriend, Lavanga Manjari. Or, the Manjaris actually are little servants, but very much beloved by Srimati Radharani. So, for 2 months, Sanatana Goswami got instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what he learned, or what he got as instructions, is there in Chaitanya Caritamrita in 5 chapters. Chapter 20 to 24. From 20 to 24. In these chapters, and we are now in the middle, in the 22nd chapter, it's all the Sanatan Shiksha. It's all the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu given to Sanatana Goswami. These are very important teachings, because out of these teachings, Sanatana Goswami then went to write books, which are still nowadays the basis actually of our understanding about Krishna consciousness. because Sanatana Goswami gave him practically the whole understanding, starting from the understanding of soul and relationship with super soul, Sambandha Gyan. Sanatana Goswami, he asked that question, Ke ami, who am I? Yeah? That was practically the beginning of the teachings. And Lord Chaitanya, right away, he gave him the understanding, you are an eternal servant of the Lord. Chivera Svaruphaya Krishnera Nityadas. You are a Nityadas. You are an eternal servant of the Lord. And from there he elaborated on Sambandha Tattva, on the understanding of who am I actually, as an eternal spirit soul, who is the Lord, as the supreme enjoyer and the source of everything and the knower, the all-knowing personality and all-powerful personality. And what is my relationship with him? This Sambandha Gyan. This is the basis of from where we start in our spiritual practice. Therefore also Sanatana Goswami stands as our Sambandha Acharya. Yeah? He is the teacher of this Sambandha Gyan. But Lord Chaitanya continued to teach him. Also, he taught him about the Abhideya Gyan, about the process of devotional service. And from these teachings, Sanatana Goswami later on wrote the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Even Lord Chaitanya gave him a synopsis, kind of a blueprint of the Hari Bhakti Vilas, which Sanatana Goswami later on elaborated and wrote the Hari Bhakti Vilas from that, which is quite voluminous composition. I don't know how many volumes, but it's quite elaborate, described. And it was from this book, from Hari Bhakti Vilas, where Rupa Goswami took 64 items. In the beginning, actually, Rupa Goswami, in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he says, I took only the principles from Hari Bhakti Vilas. The details he did not take. So we can imagine the Hari Bhakti Vilas, it goes much further, in much more details. Also, when Prabhupada gave instructions to the devotees in the beginning of the movement, how to distinguish between Suchi and Muchi, what is clean and what is unclean, and how to come into a Suchi state, how to become clean and qualified for the worship. Then devotees were complaining and they told to Prabhupada, oh Prabhupada, this is so much, it's so complicated. No? And Prabhupada said, I gave you only a little bit. There is much more. But if you would get all of that, you would faint. So the elaboration on what Prabhupada gave us is there in Hari Bhakti Vilas. This book is very, it's complete in its presentation on the understanding of a sadhaka's life, how he should behave, how he should purify his body early morning, how he should perform his worship, and what is his duty, what are the devotional practices in all detail. This book is giving instruction, and the information, the content for it, Sanatana Goswami got from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally. But that was not all. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even continued beyond that. He taught him also Prayojan Tattva, about the absolute goal. Who is the Supreme Personality? He taught him all the different avatars of the Lord. And he taught him about the 3 levels of God realization, Brahman, Paramatman, Bhagavan. And he told him also about the different relationships one can have with the Lord, the 5 primary rasas and the 7 secondary rasas. So all of that knowledge was given to Sanatana Goswami. And the first book, actually, what Sanatana Goswami then wrote was Srimad-Bhagavatam. It was Srimad-Bhagavatam, where it is in two parts. In one part, we see the journey of Narada Muni trying to find out the devotee who received the most blessings of the Lord. Yeah? And he visited all the well-known, exalted devotees, and they, in their humility, they said, no, I'm not the one. Go further, until Narada Muni reached the gopis of Vrindavan. And it's practically a description of the nature of the devotees in their humility and their surrendered attitude towards the Lord. And then the second part of the Bhagavatamrita is describing the journey of Gopakumar, who is aspiring to reach the lotus feet of his beloved Lord. And he doesn't know actually where that is. He doesn't know his goal. Yeah? He just got a mantra and from his guru, and he got instructed to chant this mantra. And he did it faithfully. And this mantra carried him through all the different planets up to the Brahmaloka, and from there into the spiritual world and to the Vaikuntha planets. And in all these places he understood, this is not the right place for me. Somehow I don't feel at home. And ultimately he reached Goloka Vrindavan. That was where he actually came from. He was a Govardhan Vasi. He was dressed as a cowherd boy, and he felt that this was his natural attraction towards the Lord in the form of a Gopa, and ultimately he reached that goal as well at the foot of Govardhan in Goloka Vrindavan. So this book, actually, Srimad-Bhagavatam, then it was the first book written by Sanatana Goswami, and the first book written at all by the Goswamis. And it is said whatever book followed, either by Sanatana Goswami or by Rupa Goswami and the other Goswamis, were just an elaboration on that Srimad-Bhagavatam. Yeah? And the Hari Bhakti Vilas also, it was a more elaborate description of the attitude, of the life, of the path of a devotee, with all details given of how a devotee arranges his life in such a way that he can always remember the Lord and never forget him. So we see all this wonderful knowledge what we have nowadays is practically coming from mostly these two events, where Rupa Goswami was taught for 10 days at Prayag by Lord Caitanya, and Sanatana Goswami for 2 months in Varanasi by Lord Caitanya. After that, Lord Caitanya sent Sanatana Goswami to Vrindavan to establish temples with deity worship, and later on he established the worship of Radha Madan Mohan, and Rupa Goswami established the worship of Radha Govinda. And then they started to write books. And now we are practically in the middle. We are in Varanasi now, yeah? At the banks of the Ganga, listening how Lord Caitanya is teaching Sanatana Goswami. Yeah? It's in the middle of Sanatana Shiksha now, where we are in this 22nd chapter. And Lord Caitanya is describing a part of the scriptures to Sanatana Goswami where the power of devotional service is revealed. Because in the scriptures, especially in the Vedic scriptures, we hear the necessity of following rules and regulations, of following prescriptions, of following certain rituals, following our dharma, yeah, to become purified and elevate ourselves on the sattvic platform. But in the contrary to that, we have the devotional service, where Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityaja. Sarva Dharman Parityaja, give up all kind of dharma, just surrender unto me. I will protect you, do not fear. Now is the question, should we immediately give up our duties? Or should we follow our duties up to a certain level and then give them up? And this is actually a very, very important question, because we have to understand that path correctly, to not commit mistakes in the beginning. Srila Prabhupada, he gives instructions on that point in the Bhagavad Gita. And I would like to share with you a part of his purport from the 3rd chapter Bhagavad Gita. It is the 33rd text. There Prabhupada writes, Krishna consciousness helps one to get out of the material entanglement, even though one may be engaged in his prescribed duties in terms of material existence. So here, first, he mentions we might be engaged in our prescribed duties. But what we do, we add Krishna consciousness to it. Yeah? We just add Krishna consciousness to our duties. And then he says, therefore, without being fully in Krishna consciousness, one should not give up his occupational duties. Very important sentence. Without being fully in Krishna consciousness, one should not give up his occupational duties. No one should suddenly give up his prescribed duties and become a so-called yogi or transcendentalist artificially. It is better to be situated in one's position and to try to attain Krishna consciousness under superior training. Thus, one may be freed from the clutches of Krishna's Maya. For that, we have to understand an important point. We have two natures. We have a conditioned nature and we have a constitutional nature. We have two sva-dharmas. Sva means our own. Dharma means responsibility, duty. And they are twofold. One in regard to our conditioned nature as being embodied in this human form of life and having our certain concepts by our upbringing and all our previous births. Yeah? They are building a certain background in our consciousness. And there is our constitutional swadharma, our constitutional position, which is Chivera Svarubhaya Krishnera Nityadas. We are an eternal servant of the Lord. But now Prabhupada says we should not prematurely give up our conditioned duties to take to the eternal duties only. So what we do, we continue to perform our conditioned duties. But we add Krishna to that. Yeah? We stay in our conditioned duties, activities, as having the responsibilities of maybe being a father or a mother or a teacher or having a job in an office job or whatever might be our responsibilities right now in life, very practically, our dharma. And performing this dharma, we understand we perform it to please the Lord. If we have that connection with whatever we do, whatever we think, whatever we give away and whatever we get, we connect it with the Lord, then by performing these temporary duties connected with our conditioned nature, they will become purified step by step. Prabhupada says it's a gradual process. It's not happening from one moment to the other. It may. Yeah, there is one verse in Chaitanya Caritamrita which says, and actually we just read it few verses before, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi, Labha Matra, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. All perfection is given by a Labha Matra, Sadhu Sangha, association with devotees. Yeah? Labha Matra is a 10,000th part of a second. It's already enough to gain perfection. But most of us need a little bit longer. Yeah, it's not just done in a 10,000th of second. So by understanding, actually we are spirit by nature. And we have an eternal duty to serve the Lord lovingly. We add these thoughts and this consciousness to our temporary activities. And by doing so, our temporary activities do not entangle us longer in the material world, but they become transformed. They become devotional service. Yeah? And by performing such activities, we become purified in the heart. Up to the extent that at one point in life, naturally, we understand, I feel much more attracted to just reading, hearing, chanting, glorifying the Lord's names, going on pilgrimage, serving the devotees. Yeah, these 9 processes, what the Lord, Prahlad Maharaj speaks in the 7th canto Bhagavatam. And that is the moment when we naturally come into our real Sanatan Dharma, in our real eternal activity towards the Lord. Yeah. So this process is a gradual process. By becoming purified in following our actual Naimitic Dharma. It's a temporary Dharma. Naimitic means temporarily. Temporarily given according to our constitutional, our conditioned nature. According to our conditioned situation in this body, in this lifetime. With all the previous lives accumulated. And with all their reactions, what it brings. So Prabhupada stresses that point that we are meant to gradually become Krishna conscious. Not at one point, now we say, okay, we understood, now we give up all our duties in this life. Previously, in the movement, it so happened that devotees just they got married and then had some children, and then the husband understood, no, this is not what I want, and he took sannyas and he ran away from the family. Or a mother did not want to take care of her kids. She understood, no, I give my kids to my mother and I go to Vrindavan. I become now a sadhvi and a saintly person in Vrindavan. These were how the devotees acted in the beginning of the movement. not fully understanding how the process works. Yeah? Where we are, there is where we take in the Krishna conscious philosophy, and we understand step by step we are servant, we are an eternal spirit soul, and we have an eternal loving relationship with the Lord. That goes hand in hand. Our material, so-called material duties, they become less, and our spiritual understanding, Krishna consciousness, increases up to the point until it takes over fully. I would like to share with you from the 11th canto, 20th chapter, sorry, 9th verse from the purport. Unless one has developed firm faith in Lord Krishna by association with pure devotees, and is thus engaged full-time in the devotional service of the Lord, one should not neglect ordinary Vedic principles and duties. Yeah, that is the point. Unless one has developed firm faith in Lord Krishna. This is what we heard about Shraddha. This firm faith, this actually marks the beginning of our devotional service. The Lord here states that if one has not developed firm faith in the process of chanting and hearing, one must comply with the ordinary injunctions of Vedic literatures. That means up to that point we have to follow our temporary duties, which are according to our dharma, according to our inclinations. Some may be inclined to work with hands, some handicrafts, or like becoming gardener or carpenter, or some may like to become teacher or cooks or whatever else for occupation might be there. Some might be inclined to become mothers. Yeah, this is according to their temporary naimitic nature, and it's good. It has to be like that. But we have to understand this is for the time being in this material world, and our actual duty is on another level, is on the eternal level as eternal spirit souls. And we take these duties on board, so to say. We perform the Sanatan duties along with our naimitic duties. On the other hand, one who has developed great faith in the devotional service of the Lord does not hesitate to do anything that will further the mission does not hesitate to do anything that will further the mission of the Lord. On the other side, if we develop firm faith that yes, the Lord is my only protector, the Lord is my only maintainer, if we have that faith, then this is the moment when we can let go of our temporary duties. But as long as we think, I need to take care of my own maintenance, we can see that still our faith is not complete. Our faith is still a little bit. And along with that, we perform our temporary duties. And by performing them faithfully also, we become purified. Up to the point that our Shraddha grows. Actually, it's the Lord who maintains everything. Everything comes from the Lord. He is the source of everything. Everything is a form of His energy and connected with the Lord. If that faith is there, then we can let go of our temporary activities and come to the activities as a spirit soul on the level of Sanatan Dharma. Then it is said here, anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation, and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. This is describing the devotee who has reached actually the transcendental platform. This is the pure devotee when we look from the level or the steps from Shraddha to Prem, this is the devotee who is on the level of Bhava, who entered the transcendental platform. There, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, na shochati, na kankshati. He is not anymore lamenting and he is not demanding anything. He transgressed the influence of the material energy. That means he transgressed the influence of the three modes of material nature. Are we still influenced by time, place, and circumstances? The weather is nice, the sun is shining, we are happy. What happens if there is rain? We probably get a bit morose. Yeah? When there is Monday morning and we have to understand now a new work day starts and a new week of working starts, we also get a bit depressed. But if it's Friday afternoon, we understand, now the weekend comes and we get some days off. Now remember all these 200,000 people in that Nava rock festival near to Vienna. 200,000 are there for 5 days or so. 200,000, yes. They are all happy with doing nonsensical activities, but they're happy that they don't have to go to work. Yeah. But after Sunday, Monday comes inevitably, and they again have to continue with their consciousness a little bit like drowsy still from what they went through the last 5 days. So this is the understanding. If we are still influenced by time, place, and circumstances, then we can understand we are still conditioned up to a certain point. And we still need to follow our naimitic dharma, our temporary duties, to not completely give them up. We can lead a life as a brahmachari and a brahmacharini for a certain while in a temple to get an understanding, to get a teaching, to get the knowledge, to get the understanding of a spiritual life. But then we should also, again, follow our inclinations, our material conditioned inclinations up to a certain level that we understand now it's purified. I don't have these desires anymore. Yeah? We cannot just suppress them and think now I'm a brahmacharini. I just put a lid on all my desires, I put them aside, and then at one point they will dissolve by their own. It won't. Yes, we need to face them and engage them in Krishna's service. Yeah? What was with Arjuna? He wanted to go to the forest. He wanted to exactly that. He wanted to renounce all his temporary duties. And now I become a saint. Yeah? I go to the forest and I meditate. This will be definitely more pious than to be there in the war. Krishna told him, no, you are wrong. Yeah? You are a kshatriya, you have to fight. This is your inclination, this is your dharma. Yeah? But by doing that, understand, you are only an instrument. This is the better devotee than the one who is sitting under the tree meditating, seemingly meditating in a Vaishnav dress. Yeah? But the mind is thinking of material objects, material activities. Yeah? So this is meant with, and Prabhupada says, we should not immediately give up our conditioned naimitic duties. We should follow them, but engage them in Krishna's service, understanding we are only an instrument in the Lord's hands. And by doing so, we become purified. And our Shraddha in the Lord grows. And when that Shraddha is strong enough, then we are there. Where this verse says, anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation, and has taken to the path in all seriousness, means such a devotee understands, my only maintainer is the Lord. My only protector is the Lord. There is nobody else who can maintain me or can protect me. This is my strong faith. Such a person owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. This is a verse from the 11th canto, 5th chapter, text 41. And then Srila Jiva Goswami points out in this regard that when a person fully surrenders to the Lord, he takes shelter of the Lord's promise to liquidate all other responsibilities and debts of the surrendered soul. This is what we hear in Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mammekam Sharanamracha. Just surrender unto me, I will protect you, do not fear. The devotee thus becomes fearless by meditating on the Lord's promise of protection. Those, however, who are materially attached are frightened by the prospect of full surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thereby revealing their inimical mentality toward the Lord. So this is for us to understand. If we are still materially inclined, we become fearful by the understanding of full surrender to the Lord. That shows us again, we stay with our Naimitic Dharma and connected with the Lord. Also when Krishna says to Arjuna, Sarva Dharmam Parityaja, he does not mean now throw away your duty as a Kshatriya. He means perform your duties, but by doing so, be fully aware that you are only an instrument in the Lord's hands. Yeah? This is the proper understanding where we become purified step by step up to the point where we are on that level of having full faith in the Lord, that He can protect us and guide us, and we do not anymore subtly depend on the understanding, I need to protect myself. I need to see with some insurances and some work to earn money. Yeah? If you understand, no, whatever I need is provided by the Lord, then this is the moment for us to fully take to our Sanatan Dharma. It's a very important section of the instruction of Lord Caitanya to Sanatan Goswami, which Prabhupada picks up in the discussion of Bhagavad Gita, because it's many times misunderstood. But in the example of Arjuna, we can see how it has to be done properly. Yeah, that Arjuna is a Kshatriya, and we have our dharmas, we have our inclinations, and this should be performed. Krishna encourages him, perform it, but understand you are only an instrument. And then it's not a material activity, it's a spiritual activity. No? Then it becomes devotional service. And by doing so, we become purified and gradually move on the path towards our eternal destination. Hare Krishna. This is what I wanted to share with you. Are there any questions or comments? Yes? Brian?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for the Vortrag. Sorry, German comes out. Shall I say it in German, in English? Maybe you translate afterwards, or?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. In English then. You spoke much about the importance of our understanding our nature, and that we should be engaged in that in the Lord's service, and just add the Sanatana Dharma. So I was thinking, us as a temple, we have brahmacharis and brahmacharini, and as you mentioned, also they should have like a temporary kind of of teaching, understanding here, but then not give up their own inclinations and also taking responsibility, because that help in their path. So what is the responsibility then? I'm thinking of the temple, of the devotees to guide and provide such knowledge, to guide them in understanding their own nature, understanding their dharma, and also to make sure that they get some instructions in this temporary time, but then also that they are, once they finish this time, they are ready also to be engaged in the society. So I would like to ask you if you can speak on that.
Thank you. So Brian Prabhu hat gefragt, was ist die Aufgabe vom Tempel, wenn junge Devotees kommen, wie sollen die ausgebildet werden, wie sollen die unterwiesen werden oder vorbereitet werden, auch darauf, dass sie ihre zeitweiligen bedingten Pflichten dann auch weiterführen können. It's actually it is the duty of the temple to make the devotees understand about that fact that there is this conditioned nature and the eternal nature. And we cannot just give up the conditioned nature just by taking on different robes. Yeah? It's not going like that. That would be easy. But our conditioned nature is built up since time immemorial, practically. And it has to be purified. Otherwise, we will do that only for a certain while. It might go well for 5 years, or 10 years, or maybe 15 years. But after that, our conditioned nature comes true. Yeah? And we may again have to do activities which might not be so conducive, maybe then even in a more intense form as before. So the temple actually is training the devotees in spiritual understanding, that they are spirit souls and that they have an eternal relationship with the Lord. They get the training in devotional service and the understanding of being instrument. And then when they hear the story of Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, they can have an like a role model, yeah? A role model in Arjuna. To understand, Arjuna was not allowed to go to the forest and be a sannyasi or be a brahmachari. He was sent back to the battlefield. He had to fight. He had to face his duties. And in the same way also, the temple is required to make the devotees understand that there is a conditioned nature which has to be faced and which has to be purified. But with the proper understanding of being an eternal servant of the Lord, of being an instrument in the Lord's hands. And in this way, it is not any more harmful. In this way, we understand we are not a doer. We are not a controller. Krishna is the puppeteer, so to say. We are just dancing according to his will and desire. This is how we slowly get the understanding that we cannot do anything without the Lord's mercy. And in this way, naturally, our Krishna consciousness is growing. And this form of Krishna consciousness is deep-rooted. Yeah? Because it's natural. It's genuine. Yeah? Otherwise, it's just like something, like a rope, what we put over our conditioned nature to cover it and think now it's all fine, we are like saintly persons. That may be there for a certain while. Then we get the understanding that actually under these ropes there is still a conditioned nature, which needs to be addressed also. yeah, it's the temple's duty to teach this knowledge to the devotees, and each one has to think honestly by oneself, where am I? What is my task? Are there still some desires in my heart which need to be fulfilled? Okay, I try to, maybe I want to learn some job, some want to go through an education. Do it, yeah? Do it, but do it Krishna consciously. Yeah? Do it with the understanding, I'm an instrument in Krishna's hands. And in this way we are following under the protection of the Lord and gradually transcend our material conditioned desires. This is the process, and the temples are training centers to get to understand the philosophy, and this is our philosophy. Krishna did not approve of Arjuna to go to the forest and become a sannyasi. So in the same way, the temple is meant for education, for training. And we see the movement nowadays mostly consists of grihastas. They are in the world with both legs and they deal with the world. But at the same time they understand they are not from this world. They are instruments in the Lord's hands. And for them to deal with the material energy is a great challenge. But doing it Krishna consciously is also very wonderful opportunity to become purified and become strong in Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna consciousness is not something artificial. It's real, it's our true nature. But our conditioned nature is still very strong and overlapping it. So this has first to be put in Krishna's service. And then, step by step, it is purified and our true nature comes out and our true attraction to the Lord comes out. Hare Krishna. Any more questions or comments? Yes?
Eine kurze Frage. Sie haben gesagt, also im Vortrag, dass wir könnten theoretisch also auch in einer Sekunde Krishna conscious werden und alles abgeben. Aber normalerweise funktioniert es nicht so. Und meine Frage ist, warum also ist es nicht so einfach für uns, obwohl es ist unsere Nature?
Unser Shraddha. Unser Vertrauen ist nicht groß genug, weil es funktioniert nicht, wenn ein großer Gottgeweihter, ein Mahabhagavata, eine bedingte Natur in Person anschaut, wenn ein Mahabhagavat Vaishnava is just looking at... dann kann ich auf Deutsch... Ja? So, wenn ein großer Gottgeweihter, der Mahabhagavata, einen Devotee anschaut, eine Person, die noch in der bedingten Natur ist, dann hat der Mahabhagavata zwar die Kraft, diese bedingte Natur aufzulösen, aber der Devotee, der noch die bedingte Natur mit sich trägt, hat nicht das Vertrauen in den Vorgang. Ja? Deswegen wird es nicht funktionieren. Ne? Deswegen wird der Devotee in der bedingten Natur noch seinen Weg gehen müssen, um langsam eine schrittweise Reinigung zu erfahren. Hätten wir das volle Vertrauen, ja, Krishna ist mein einziger Beschützer und er ist mein einziger Erhalter und alles kommt von ihm und ich gebe mich komplett ihm hin, dann wird es sofort funktionieren. Ja? Aber dieses Vertrauen fehlt in uns. Deswegen müssen wir unseren Weg gehen. Ne? Ja.
Das möchte Krishna auch nicht. Krishna möchte, dass wir uns Krishna möchte, dass wir uns aus Hingabe, aus Liebe zu ihm ergeben, dass wir Freude dabei haben. Und wenn wir das nicht haben, dann ist ihm das auch nichts wert. Also er möchte nicht, dass wir uns zu irgendwas zwingen. Ja?
Ja, wenn unser Herz nicht bereit ist, uns komplett Krishna hinzugeben. Was heißt das? Komplette Hingabe. Atmani Vedanam, wie Draupadi. Beide Hände in die Luft gehoben, als Dushasan ihr den Sari wegnehmen wollte. Er hat nicht mehr den Sari selber gehalten. Ja? Beide Hände in die Luft. Hey Krishna, hey Govinda. Komplettes Surrender. Verstanden, dass niemand und sie selber auch nicht sich retten kann. Das ist komplette Hingabe. Und dann kann Krishna sofort kommen und tun, was notwendig ist. Die Reinigung wird dann erfahren, aber solange wir diese noch Zweifel in uns tragen, wird es nicht so schnell gehen. Ne? Da müssen wir den schrittweise Vorgang ausführen und langsam unser Vertrauen aufbauen. Wir tragen ganz viele Konzepte mit uns mit. Die kommen aus früheren Geburten, haben wir aufgebaut. Und diese Konzepte loszulassen, ist nicht so leicht. Im Mahabharata gibt es diese eine Sequenz, wo Vidura eine Säule festhält und dann ruft, lass mich los, lass mich los. Aber es ist wir, die Säule festhalten. Vidura hat die Säule festgehalten. Ja, da liegt der Punkt. Es ist eigentlich gar nicht so schwer. Es kann schon innerhalb von einer Sekunde passieren, aber wir halten an unseren Konzepten fest. Aber es muss doch so sein. Aber es ist doch so und so. Aber das ist doch so. Ja, wenn wir das bereit sind aufzugeben, dann kann es innerhalb von einer Sekunde sein. Aber dazu fehlt uns das nötige Vertrauen. Shraddha. Ja. Okay. Noch eine Frage? Ja? Laut sprechen, dann geht's auch. Aber es ist halt für die Onliner, die...
Ja, ich fand es irgendwie interessant, dass Arjuna, eigentlich war es ja sein purer Wunsch, dass er in den Wald geht und eigentlich, es scheint ja, als hätte er keine Anhaftung mehr gehabt, materiell, und trotzdem war es dann seine Pflicht, aufs Schlachtfeld zu gehen. Weil, also irgendwie, ich dachte, das hängt mit den eigenen Wünschen zusammen, und das war ja eigentlich, er hatte ja gar keinen materiellen Wunsch, und das ist für mich ein bisschen eine Frage, warum er dann trotzdem aufs Schlachtfeld musste. Also war das irgendwie höher gestellt, einfach sein Karma, dass es einfach so sein musste, obwohl er den Wunsch gar nicht mehr hatte, oder lag es daran, dass Krishna auf dem Schlachtfeld war, also er war Krishna näher auf dem Schlachtfeld als im Wald.
Das ist eine gute Frage. Danke dir. Arjuna, wäre er tatsächlich frei gewesen von Wünschen, dann hätte Krishna Tadastu gesagt, ja, geh in den Wald und meditiere. Ja? Aber Arjuna hat vom Schlachtfeld gehen wollen, weil er Angst hatte, negative Reaktionen auf sich zu laden. Ja? Wenn er jetzt hier die ganzen Krieger da niedermetzelt, ja, dann kriegt er ja Reaktionen, Varna Shankara, und unerwünschte Nachkommenschaft wird dadurch produziert. Ja? Und ich kann ja dann das Königreich gar nicht genießen, weil alle, mit denen ich es genießen möchte, sind ja dann tot. Ne? Fruchtbringende Gedanken waren noch da in ihm. Ja? Er war nicht wirklich frei von selbstlichen Wünschen. Natürlich war er ist ein reiner Gottgeweihter, er hat sich so verhalten müssen, um Krishna dann in die Lage zu versetzen, die Bhagavad Gita für uns sprechen zu können. Ja? Er gibt Beispiele, Arjuna, aber er hat all diese Bedingtheiten noch in sich getragen, ja? Und wollte fliehen. Er wollte eben genau aus seiner Verantwortung fliehen. Ja? Nicht, weil er frei war von Wünschen, ja? Nicht, weil er so ein Heiliger war und sagte, Freund oder Feind, das spielt für mich keine Rolle, ich gehe jetzt hin und meditiere, das ist viel, viel heiliger, transzendentaler. Nein, er wollte weg, weil er nicht so viel Leid verursachen wollte, weil er dann auch dachte, ich kann ja nicht genießen, wenn niemand mehr da ist, mit dem ich das genießen kann, wenn alle tot sind. Und das ist genau wie bei uns. Ja, solange wir noch diese Gedanken haben, sollten wir uns nicht von unseren bedingten Aufgaben entfernen, sondern die ausführen, aber genauso wie Arjuna geheißen wurde, als Instrument. Und dadurch werden wir schrittweise gereinigt und kommen unserem Krishna-Bewusstsein, eigentlichen, echten, vollkommenen Krishna-Bewusstsein näher. Ja, das ist ein Prozess. Gradually, Prabhupada sagt schrittweise. Okay, herzlichen Dank. Srimad Chaitanya Caritamrita ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.